Welcome back to All About Winning Daily Fantasy Sports. My name is Ty Patton. Bringing Week 14 to a close, we have two NFC East division rivals headed in opposite directions. In what is setting up as the Eli Manning farewell tour, the 2-10 cellar-dwelling New York Giants, who are just playing out the season, visit the 5-7 Philadelphia Eagles, who are in position to tie with a win the Dallas Cowboys atop the pitiful NFC East with a record of 6-7. The Eagles have been installed as a 9.5-point home favorite with a game total of 44.5 points. Now, before we unpack tonight's game, I want to share the numbers that are fantasy relevant to the Showdown contest itself. Up to and including last night's Sunday night showdown between the Rams and Seahawks, there have been 102 showdown contests during the 2019 NFL season. And I also wanted to mention that Draftkings doesn't just have showdowns contests for the primetime games, Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. They also have 4 or 5 games each Sunday that they randomly select to be showdown contests. And that makes up the total of the 102. Out of these 102 showdown contests, they have an average winning score of 132.19. The average winning captain score is 42.42. Since the captain score represents 32% of the average winning score, I focus a lot of attention to the captain's position. And with that being said, the captain's position breaks down as follows. The underdog running back has been the captain in the winning lineup more than any other position, 21 times for 21%. The favorite quarterback, 18 times for 18%. The favored wide receiver has been the captain in the winning lineup, 18 times for 18%. The underdog wide receiver, 13 times for 13%. The favored running back has been the captain in the winning lineup 13 times for 13%. The underdog quarterback has been the captain in the winning lineup 7 times for 7%. The favorite defensive special teams 6 times for 6%. The underdog kicker has been the captain in the winning lineup 2 times for 2%. The favorite tight end 2 times for 2%. The underdog tight end has been the captain in the winning lineup 1 time for 1%. And the underdog defensive special team has been the captain in the winning lineup 1 time for 1%. Now, I also combined this by position, whether it was underdog or favorite, and it broke down like this. Running backs have combined to be the captain in the winning lineup more than any other position, 34 times for 33%. Wide receivers are close at 31 times for 30%. Quarterbacks, 25 times for 25%. All others represent 12 times for 12%. Now, the overall straight-up record of the winning lineup's captain is 71-31, which is 70%. What that means is the captain for the winning lineup is coming from the winning team 70% of the time, and that breaks down as follows. Running backs are 25-8, which is 76%. Wide receivers are 18-13, which is 58%, and quarterbacks are 18-7, which is 72%. And those percentages are win percentages. Tonight's game looks to be a total mismatch on paper, but both teams have weak pass defenses. New York Giants have a 31 DVP versus the wide receiver position, and Philadelphia has a 29 DVP versus the wide receiver position. Philly does have a decisive edge in overall defense with a DVOA of 13, which that's the defense adjusted value over average, compared to a DVOA of 27 for the Giants. Weighted DVOA, which factors how a team is playing right now and not the entire season, has Philadelphia number 10 and the Giants at number 29, which confirms, as I mentioned in my opening, two teams that are clearly headed in opposite directions, even with Philadelphia's humiliating loss to the Miami Dolphins last week. There are a lot of intangibles associated with this game as well, such as returning home off a disappointing loss, being able to still be in position to win the division with a 5-7 record. Those are intangibles that are going to have some type of play in the game more than likely. Manning has lost 5 in a row to Philadelphia dating back to 2016 and is 1-9 dating back to 2014, but he's 0-5 in Philadelphia dating back to 2014. The good news for the Giants is in the 2 games that Saquon Barkley has played against Philadelphia, he's smashed in both of those. One game for 40 points and the other game for 36 points. The game in Philadelphia last year, he scored 36 fantasy points. And this comes out to a 38.55 fantasy point average for Saquon Barkley, and those were in losses. So he's getting it done, and has had two phenomenal games against them. For the Eagles, Carson Wentz has never lost the Giants at home, lost to the Giants at home dating back to 2016, and has won 4 in a row. He has an average of 15.2 fantasy points per game in games versus the Giants, with the highest game being 24 points, which was last year in a 34-13 win. Philadelphia is number 10 in the NFL getting pressure on the quarterback 24% of the time. And although there are a lot of sentiments for Eli, I feel like this game is going to be dominated by the Eagles on both sides of the ball. As a Cowboys fan, I would obviously like to see the Eagles lose this game. I'm just going to keep it real. I don't see it happening. There are a few weather concerns tonight, with heavy rain projected to be out by kickoff, and there's supposed to be some light rain during the game with sustained winds of 15 miles an hour. So not ideal conditions, but not enough to really affect the game a whole lot. I am leaning towards a lopsided victory by Philadelphia, but I do feel that Barkley will be heavily involved with Manning returning, getting him the ball out of the backfield. And that just makes sense if you look at Philadelphia gets pressure on the quarterback 24% of the time. They're ranked number 10 in the NFL. If they're getting a lot of pressure on Manning, he's going to be probably trying to dump the ball off to Saquon Barkley or the tight end Smith. And Manning has a history of really liking to go to his tight ends, and he has a really good repertoire with Shepard, the other wide receiver. The Giants are 5th in rushing yards allowed, and average rushing yards allowed at 3.9 yards per carry. So I think that this is going to probably be a game for Wentz to put the ball in the air. As I mentioned, not ideal conditions, but I still believe he'll be able to get it done. So with that in mind, I wanted to mention that, the numbers that I provided you guys, they don't unlock the winning lineup for the Eagles and the Giants tonight. But what it does do is give us numbers that can give us an edge. Such things as the underdog running backs in a captain spot have been in the winning lineup more than any other position. The running backs combined for 1/3 of the winning lineups. That's a huge number out of 102. A third of them are coming from the running backs. And the captain for the winning lineup is coming from the winning team 70% of the time. Those are all things that I use in my process when I'm building my lineups. Now, some other things that I do when I'm building my lineups is first, I take a stand. Who do I think is going to win? Next, how do I think they're going to win? Is it going to be the passing game, the running game, combination? How are they going to get it done? What does this do to game theory for the other team? And then I choose some players that I feel like have to be involved in that game theory. What are the players needed for them to win with that game theory? And then I select some players that I feel like have a path to being the highest scoring with that game theory. And then I build my lineups and correlate the other players around them. And that's how I build my lineups. So with that being said, this is the lineup that I'm working on. And I'm going to be, this is the manual lineup that I've built and that I'm going to be placing in a few tournaments tonight. I'm going with Carson Wentz at quarterback. And anytime I have a quarterback in the captain spot, I like to always I like to get 2 targets, but I'll settle for 1. With this particular lineup, I'm going to actually have 2. And likewise, if I use a wide receiver in the captain spot, I want his quarterback in the flex spot, because the only way he's going to go off is if the quarterback's throwing him the ball. Now, I tend to not use a lot of if I have the wide receiver in the captain and the quarterback in the flex, I probably try to get away from another target, because what I'm saying with that theory is he's going to be targeting him the most. He's going to have the biggest game, and that's how I'm going to build my lineup. So I'm going to use Wentz in the captain. I'm going to use Goddard, who's 4,800. Philly likes to use double tight end. Zach Ertz is going to get a lot of attention tonight. Um, the Giants aren't too horrible versus the tight end position. They're actually, let's look here. They're actually second versus the tight end. That means they just funnel a lot of passes to the wide receiver position. But in a game that could be a little bit wet, with a little bit of rain, shorter routes, I can see the tight ends getting involved, and they run double tight end a lot. And I like Goddard as one of my targets with him. Next, I'm going to use Elliott. This guy's on fire. He's 17 out of 18 this year. And with rain, a little bit of a wet field, you could see these teams maybe getting bogged down a little bit, forcing them to kick some field goals. Now, with that, with weather concerns, obviously, I mean, wind, you can get some misses, but this guy's really accurate, and he's having a really good year, and I feel like that shores up some of my scoring. And last, another target for Wentz is Jeffrey. Jeffrey has a phenomenal matchup tonight, and I think Aguilar is going to be ruled out. Make sure you check the injury report at 7 o'clock. I'm looking here now. Did I see he's still got a questionable tag? Let's see if they have any notes on that yet. I looked earlier. It says he's not expected to play, so that's just more targets for Aguilar. This is a really good matchup for Jeffrey and that pass defense of the Giants. So in flex, I'm going to have Barkley, and I was real close to having him in the in the captain spot, because he smashed against them in 2 losses. But underdog running backs, as I mentioned, have been in the winning captain position more than any other position. But also the captain is coming from the winning team 70% of the time. So I put Barkley down a little bit lower. If Philadelphia gets out on them and they have to throw the ball around a lot, that could limit his carries. He'll probably be heavily involved in the pass game, but I feel like that's where he's going to get the majority of his points tonight. And last, I have 3,700 left. I'm using the tight end Smith. As I mentioned, Eli likes to go to the tight end a ton. I really like this lineup a lot tonight. It's leaving 1,500 on the table, which is a good thing in Showdown. I seen something. The average winning lineup this season is leaving over $1,000 on the table. That's the average winning lineup. So that's a good thing. Wentz will probably be popular in the captain's position. It's just how you build it after that. And so I really, as I said, I really like this lineup a lot. It correlates well. I got Wentz with 2 targets, the field goal kicker. Sanders will probably be real popular either in the captain or flex, the running back for Philadelphia, due to people maybe having some weather concerns. So I got away from him and went with this build. I like this a lot, and I will be entering this in a few lineups. Now, as I always do, I utilize an optimizer that I have. And somebody asked me which optimizer I use. That's from a paid site, and I've actually reached out to them to ask them if they mind me mentioning that I use their services for my videos that I post. But I use an optimizer. Take the players that I'm interested in. For Showdown, what I do is I get all the players that I think are viable. I don't necessarily use all of them, and I don't always. I mean, sometimes I use some of the lower scoring ones. Like I do have Greg Ward in my player pool tonight. I do have Cody Latimer, but small percentages, and that's another thing that I'm able to do with my optimizer is adjust the percentages. How much exposure do I want them to have in my lineups? And whether it's the flex or the captain, I pick 5 or 6 captains, set it for 150 lineups. I set a few rules. As I mentioned earlier, captain in the or quarterback in the captain, I want at least 2 targets in the flex, wide receiver in the captain. I want to have a quarterback in his quarterback in the flex, and I try to only use one of the 2 defensive special teams and 2 field goal kickers, at 2 the most. And I just set up some rules like that. I set it for at least one unique player for each lineup, and I let it go. I did that tonight. It was able to produce all the ones that 150 requested. It was able to produce 131 lineups with the exposures and rules that I had. So, and I take those, and what I do is I look at the different randomizations. Now, I might enter the 20 entry quarters or 20 entry dollars, lineups like that. And by all means, I don't have anything against anyone that MMEs hits the 150 lineups in contests. The guys that can do it, kudos to them. If I'm ever in the position to do it, I'll be doing it. It just makes sense using an optimizer. And, like I said, if I'm ever in the spot to do that, I will. But for me, for now, I just want to see the different randomizations of the players that I'm interested in, because I'm not going to see every possible build manually building, and I just go through, and like if I have a 20 entry that I'm involved in, I'll go through the ones that I like, and I'll select those. Now, there's been times where I'll look at them like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good, and then I'll change a few players around, and that's burned me a couple times. But that's the main reason I use Optimizer for the Showdown, because it can give you just all kinds of different randomizations. And some of them are spending all 50,000. I've had some that left $6,000 on the table, but I just pick a few of those that I like, and I play a variety of different contests: the head-to-head, double up, the big GPPs, the smaller GPPs, and that's how I do my contests. So as I always do, I always show you guys the first lineup that the optimizer built for me. And I'm going to do that again for you tonight. It started out with the kicker for Philadelphia in the captain spot. I had him at a very low exposure for the captain spot. I set it up for 150 lineups, and I put him available for the captain in 1%, which gives you a really small number, but this was the very first lineup. Excuse me, I had Goddard. It had Goddard at 4,800. It had Eli Manning, Saquon Barkley, Carson Wentz, and Miles Sanders. Now it looks good. I mean, you get some stalled drives and a lot of scoring. I do like to use the field goal kicker from the team that's favored, because they have a higher implied total, and I like field goal kickers that are home. There's been a couple, as I mentioned, a couple winning lineups this year, only 2 that utilize the underdog field goal kicker. So this would be the first time, if this lineup would win, this would be the first time that the favored field goal kicker had won a contest. But it has Wentz with a target. It has Manning and Barkley. It's covering a lot of the scoring, and just not sure that 6.8 in the captain spot, unless all these really go off. You're going to need him to get, 6.8 puts you at about 11 points. And then you need these other 5 to hit about 25 points apiece. And I don't know. Anything can happen. I show you guys the first lineup that was built. Now, what I was going to do, I was going to show you guys a lineup, and I just do this sometimes just to see how the optimizer's reacting. And I did this earlier today, but I set it up, and I didn't have any rules, any exposures. I just set it for 150 and let it run. And this is what it gave me. It gave me Michael Sanders in the captain spot. Sorry about that. Sanders in the captain. Eagles defense in the flex. Jake Elliott, the kicker. He is 4,000. Had Goddard. Optimizer really liked Goddard a lot today. Had Saquon Barkley. And Carson Wentz. Left $100 on the table. This looks really chalky. But I'll use this in some contests. I just ran it, and I do that with main slate lineup building and Showdown. I just run it without anything just to see, kind of like, let me see what the optimizer is thinking about. And this is what it gave me. So, but the whole idea behind my videos, and I just want to stress this, isn't to give you guys the picks or the lineups. I'm going to show you my process. I'm going to show you the numbers that I use and how I correlate them and build my lineups. And although I've never won one of these Showdown contests outright, I cash in probably 90% of them. I do have a lot of luck with these contests. So I just wanted to put that out there, what the real meaning of this video is. So I want to get this posted to you guys so you have it a couple hours before game time. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to encourage you to please drop any opinions or comments that you may have below. Please share this video, like it, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when my next video posts. Really helps me out a ton. My viewers have been trending upwards big time, as well as my subscribers. But if you're not already a subscriber, give me a shot, and you know, it can't hurt anything, but it really helps me out if you do that. I'll be back tomorrow to post a recap from week 14, and then the rest of the week we'll be doing the position by position breakdown heading into Saturday, where we do some lineup building and put it all together. You can also follow me on Twitter at winningabout. Don't forget the injury report again. You can check it probably about 7 o'clock. It's usually 90 minutes before kickoff. You don't want to zero in any contest, but with Showdown in particular, you got 6 positions here, and a 0 is just deadly. So make sure you check that injury report. Even if they don't have a questionable mark or something, a few weeks ago at the last second, Robert Woods was ruled out for the Rams, and if you had him in your lineup, obviously you got a 0. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to get this posted for you guys. My name is Ty Patton. This is all about winning daily fantasy sports, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck tonight.